The differences between US and EU food regulations, unveiling the variances. Greetings, fellow food lovers. Today we embark on a culinary journey that transcends borders. Join us as we uncover the disparities between food regulations in the United States and the European Union. From ingredients to labeling, we'll explore how these variations shape the foods we consume. Let's dive in. Food safety is paramount, and both the US and the EU prioritize consumer protection. However, their approaches differ. In the US, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, oversee food safety, focusing on risk assessment and post-market monitoring. In the EU, the European Food Safety Authority, EFSA, adopts a precautionary principle requiring pre-market safety assessments and stricter regulations on additives and genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. GMOs have long been a topic of debate. In the US, genetically modified crops are widely cultivated and consumed, with labeling requirements that are not as stringent as in the EU. The EU employs a precautionary approach, requiring strict labeling and traceability for products containing GMO ingredients. This difference in regulations reflects varying public attitudes towards GMOs. Monosodium glutamate, MSG, has also been known to play a significant role in our health. While it can be naturally occurring in some foods at very low levels, there are instances, specifically in fast food and in the restaurant industry, that it is used as an additive. Additives and preservatives play a role in food preservation, flavor enhancement, and texture improvement. In the US, the FDA maintains an extensive list of approved additives with specific limitations on their use. The EU takes a more cautious approach, restricting certain additives and employing the less is better principle, prioritizing natural alternatives and encouraging minimal use of artificial additives. The use of pesticides and hormones in food production is another area of divergence. For example, the majority of pesticides banned in the EU over the last 25 years have not been decreased in the US, but rather have remained the same or have even been increased in use over the past 10 years. Additionally, the EU prohibits the use of growth hormones in livestock, whereas the US allows certain hormones in cattle farming. Many of these hormones and pesticides have been linked to various adverse health issues in humans. Antibiotic use in animal agriculture is an important issue impacting food safety and public health. The EU has implemented stricter regulations prohibiting the routine use of antibiotics for growth promotion. In contrast, the US has taken steps to reduce antibiotic use in animals, but does not have an outright ban, allowing some antibiotics to be used in livestock farming. Clear and accurate food labeling empowers consumers to make informed choices. The US and EU have different requirements for food labeling. The EU prioritizes detailed ingredient lists, allergen labeling, and country of origin indications. In the US, labeling requirements are more flexible with less emphasis on allergen labeling and origin disclosure. However, both regions strive to enhance transparency and provide relevant information to consumers. Pesticide regulations focus on tolerances, acceptable levels of pesticide residues in food. While the EU also sets maximum residue levels, it generally maintains stricter pesticide regulation. The most recent EU bill states, foods or food ingredients with added phytosterols, phytosterol esters, phytostanols, or phytostanyl esters will have a statement that the product is not intended for people who do not need to control their blood cholesterol level. A statement that patients on cholesterol-lowering medication should only consume the product under medical supervision. It also states that the consumption of more than 3 grams per day of added plant sterols or plant stanols should be avoided. The new bill will provide an actual label that contains a percentage of the amount of grams per liter of free plant sterols and plant stanols. Organic food production and labeling are regulated differently in the US and the EU. The EU has a comprehensive organic certification system covering all stages of production. It strictly prohibits the use of synthetic pesticides and GMOs. The US also has organic regulations, but some variation exists, including differences in allowed substances and certification processes. As we conclude our exploration of the diverging food regulations between the US and the EU, it becomes evident that these variances shape the foods we consume. Safety standards, GMOs, additives, labeling, and organic production all demonstrate the distinctive approaches taken by each region. Understanding these differences in food regulations allows us to become more aware of what we consume and become a healthier society. Enrich your understanding, participate in the conversation, and be part of the movement for change.